just before we launch into actually tackling a Part A paper, I wanted to just go through some of the skills that you'll need. So if you remember, Part A is 15 minutes long. The papers are collected at the end of this time, so you absolutely have to finish within that 15-minute deadline, and it's scored out of 20 points. The skills that will be required here are scanning and finding information quickly, the kind of information you'll be looking for in your everyday lives when you have a patient in front of you and you need to check some kind of reference information, for example, the dosage or the past history or particular information about interactions with drugs. And another skill that will be looked at here is transferring information accurately, because you have to copy down the information given in the text very carefully into your answer sheets. Okay, the big question then, how can you do well? Well, the first thing to do is to understand how to skim and scan for information. Knowing these basic techniques will help you get the information you need quickly. Also, understanding what structures and devices are used are actually built into reference material to help the reader. There are various structures actually in the texts themselves which aid discovery, which aid information gathering, and we'll be looking at these shortly. Use these information structures to help you find the information, and then practice transferring information accurately under pressure, and you'll be able to do well. Now, these are techniques that you probably use anyway every day in your normal working lives, and you don't even think about it. But because this is a test and you will be under exam conditions with all that pressure that involves, it's really worth spending some time and thinking it and developing these techniques. Why? Well, we need to reactivate these skills that you have anyway, but we need to make sure they come to the forefront, and we need to train your brain to get faster. Remember, you only have 15 minutes to complete Part A. Skimming and scanning then. We'll start with skimming. Now, it's often quite hard to describe how to skim, and I think sometimes it helps by visualising or picturing exactly what you're doing. So we'll leave reading aside for a moment and just imagine that you're catching a train and you're at a railway station. I'm sure we're all familiar with that. We know how busy and confusing railway stations are. There are crowds of people, there's lots of information. You're under a little bit of panic maybe because you need to make your train. So you're at the train station, you want to catch your train, you want to find out what platform your train is leaving from and if it's on time. What do? Well, you let your eye wander around the station, don't you, to get a general idea of where everything is. This is the idea of skimming for gist. You're letting your eye wander over the text, or the train station in this case, and you're trying to get a general understanding of what is where. Where are the station information boards? Where are the ticket collection points? Where are the platforms, for example? You're getting a general idea. In the text, of course, you're looking for the whole meaning of the text. What is this text about? What information is in the first part? What is in the second? What is listed under this heading, maybe? That is skimming for gist. Scanning, on the other hand, is a slightly different technique. Let's go back to that train station. You're back at that train station, you want to catch the train, and you want to find out which platform your train is going from and if it's on time. What do? Well, if it was me, I would go to the information board. You can't always rely on the information on your phone. Maybe it hasn't been updated and you just want to double check where the platform is. And you look at the train information board and try to scan for your particular train and platform. Okay, here we have an example of a train information board from Euston Station in London. Let's imagine I'm going to Carlisle. That's a town in the north of England. So I know I want to go to Carlisle. Am I going to read every bit of information from left to right, from up to down. No, I'm not going to do that. All of this is not relevant for me. I'm not going to Northampton. I know that my train is at 23:27, so what do? I let my eye scan across until I find the correct time. I don't bother reading everything else, it's not relevant. I find the bit of information I'm looking for, and then I check more carefully. Is my station there? And yes, it is. Carlisle is right there. And this is scanning. So you know what you're looking for, you let your eye wander until you find it, and then you read more carefully to check. And in this case, the platform hasn't arrived yet, so I'll have to check back again a little bit later on. That is skimming and scanning. Now, if you remember, the other thing I was telling you about was to know how to use the devices actually built into texts. What do I mean by that? Well, the actual reference materials themselves are designed in such a way that readers can find information quickly. If you know a little bit about design and how these structures work, this will help you facilitate your information finding. Let's look at an extract from the NHS website about paracetamol. If you see here, we have headings in bold which clearly tell me what information follows. I have the key facts. I have who can and can't take paracetamol. I have how and when to take it. Now, if I'm looking for information about whether pregnant women can take paracetamol or not safely, I don't need to read 2, I don't need to read 4, I will probably go straight to part 3 and read that. Another way that they have designed this so that it's easy to find information are these bullet points here. We don't have long sentences. It would be very hard to find out information quickly if you have to delve and search and read through lots of information. Instead, we have very short sentences with bullet points that will tell me the information easily. Short paragraphs as well. Can you see here? Just a couple of lines long. Other kinds of reference materials that you may come across in the exam are tables and flowcharts as well, which give you an indication of what to do, quite often with a yes or no. And we will be looking again at these in a little bit more detail in the rest of the course, and these are all examples of the kind of reference material you could find in Part A.